Boom, guys, just like that. All of the butterflies out of the intake manifold. What's going on, guys? Time for Nightrun here. Today we're going to be deleting the EGR from my 1989 Nissan 240SX. Alright, so for those of you who watched my last video, you guys would know that I actually already took off the whole intake manifold from my KA24E. You guys can watch my last video, I'll have the link in the description, and that'll show you exactly how to take the whole thing off. Today what we're going to be focusing on is removing the EGR. So before we focus on removing the EGR from the intake manifold, which I have upstairs, we're actually going to focus on removing this little plate with all these vacuum lines right off the back of the head. So guys, this would be easier if the engine was out of the car, but since mine's still in the car, I'm just going to be taking this 12 mil, and right on the back of this plate, you guys can feel them. There should be like 2 bolts. Take your 12 mil, knock them out. Got the first bolt out. Now if we come around, right back in there, guys, that's where your second bolt's gonna be. Got the second bolt right here. My fault, guys, there are actually 3 bolts. The third one is right here on the side of the motor. Boom, guys, just like that. All of this has now been taken out of the car. Alright guys, so while I was taking off the plate back there, you can see I actually did have to undo this ground. So I'm just going to take that 12 mil bolt, I'll stick that right there with the washer, and I'll just pin that right there to the head where it belongs. Alright guys, we got that ground right there hooked back up. And now we're going to go upstairs and take a look at the intake manifold. Alright guys, so we're upstairs here in my bathroom now, where I have this sitting on the little fake tile floor. Here's my intake manifold. This obviously isn't attached because you have to take it apart to take it off the car. But as I told you guys earlier, I am going to be showing you how to remove this EGR off the intake manifold. So when it comes to deleting the EGR, we actually don't have to touch this right now. It's all right here. If you guys have already watched the other video, you would have already seen this, but right here we have the butterflies. Look at all that air restriction. Right here we have the valve that controls the butterflies, and then this guy over here is the EGR itself. Before we start messing with all of this though, I'm just gonna go ahead, take off these lines right here that go across the top. All that I can see that holds these lines down are just a couple 10 mil bolts. I just see these 3, maybe there's one down here, but I'm just gonna take this off real quick. Alright guys, just those 3 10 mil bolts, and boom, these lines are now off of the intake manifold. Just to make sure I can plug these holes up later, I'm just going to thread these bolts right back into the holes that they came out of. Alright guys, now that we've got all this shit off the intake manifold, we're going to focus on removing this here EGR. So guys, removing this EGR by itself is actually pretty easy. All it is these 2 12 mil bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen it up, and then after that I'm going to take it right off. Here's the other bolts, here's the valve. Alright guys, so right here we have this, completely off the motor here, the valve. We got the 2 12 mil bolts that held it in. You guys look at the back of the manifold here. Very simple to block that off. Alright guys, so right here I have the EGR valve block off plate made by Level Zero Motorsports. Got this off eBay. All I do is I take 2 12 mil bolts, put it right there over the hole, comes with a gasket in it already, and that's what I'm going to use to block off this hole, so I'm not having a big vacuum leak right there. Now guys, the 2 bolts that I'm going to be using to hold this onto the manifold are actually the same 2 bolts that I took right off the back of this. Anyway guys, moving on from that, the next step is for us to delete these butterfly valves. Alright guys, in order to take out these butterflies, you just push this down, and then on every single butterfly you'll see just 2 little Phillips head screws. So just be careful with these, try not to lose any of them. Should come out pretty easily. And guys, another way you can hold the valves down is you can pull up right here, and it's go down like that. Alright, well guys, a couple of these screws have proven to be a pain in the ass just to break them loose. So just a quick tip before I even get started here, make sure you put a good amount of pressure on the screw to avoid stripping it when you're doing this. All these screws are actually being a bit of a pain in the ass to get loose without partially stripping them. So just to play it safe here, I'm actually going to go grab some degreaser. I'm going to spray every single one of these little Phillips head screws with a little bit of WD-40 just to loosen it up before I try taking them off. Alright guys, so I got a little bit of WD-40 right here. I'm gonna spray each and every one of these little screws. I did manage to get one out, but the one next to it doesn't really want to come out without stripping a little bit, so I'd rather make sure that I can get all these out today than have a couple screws left behind. And online I did also see that these 2 screws right here would also be a pain in the ass, so I'm gonna make sure I spray those 2 as well, and then I'm gonna let it all soak in for a couple minutes. Alright guys, the WD-40 is soaked in for a little bit. I've got these 2 screws out, and now here we go, that's the first butterfly out. Look at that, huh? So restrictive. Glad these are gone now though. This has to be the best tip I could possibly give you. If using some sort of penetrating fluid doesn't work, put the screwdriver right there in the hole, right? Hold it there, and then take something like the end of a ratchet or something, and just literally Hit it a good couple times right on the butt of the screwdriver. Just give it that shock. Shock that screw. Like I started to strip this one right here. The red's starting to get messed up, so I literally just put the screwdriver right there. Took that wrench right there, started hitting the butt of it. Hit it a couple times, give it a good couple hits. Right away, it was nice and loose. Broke all of these loose. Not stripping any of these today. Also, for all you who are wondering how I got these to stay closed by themselves, I literally have a screw right here, and it's just jamming the part that rotates. Just holding these down, just like that. Finally, guys, we have all of the butterflies out of the intake manifold. On every single one of these, one of the screws wanted to stay, wanted to strip. Being a pain in the ass, even after WD-40, I'm telling you guys, just hitting the butt of the screwdriver with this makes such a difference. It just shocks the bolt, and it'll come right out. Give it a couple whacks, it'll be mint. Anyway, guys, now that all of these are out, in order to take out this rod in here, I actually do have to remove this valve. If you guys were confused to how this little screw right here was holding this, boom. Anyway, guys, now it's just 2 Phillips heads right here and here, and then this thing should just come right off. Alright guys, so that went incredibly well. In order to break these loose, I already had them sprayed down with WD-40 again. With the screwdriver, just like that. I couldn't get them loose with the screwdriver, so I hit them a couple times. My 3/8 ratchet right on the butt of the screwdriver, just gave them some shock on both of them. And then what I did, took that nice wide Phillips head, put it in a 1/4 socket, and the good old quarter drive ratchet. Laid this thing down on its belly and gave it some pressure. Both of these came right loose. Now these can come off nice and easy. Next step is to pop that little pin off right on the end. Alright guys, so I got the clip off, and what worked best for me was actually just taking the tip of my knife and putting it right in like one of those bottom grooves and just prying it off. Anyway, thing came flying off the manifold, but now everything's free to slide right off. Alright, so now this ring here can come right off. Put that there. This should be able to pop right off too, just like that. Scooch that over the side. I did end up hand threading these screws back on just so the valve would stop moving around. That did help a little bit, but now I'm just gonna take them back off. Now, alright, that is now disconnected. Last step, I'm gonna be removing this. All you have to do to take out this rod is take out this 1 Phillips head screw in the middle, and then it should be free to slide right up this side. Penetrating oil did a great job getting that last screw loose, and now it should all slide right out. As it turns out, the rod was just a little bit bent up from when I was hitting it with the ratchet. So I just flipped it right over onto the back side, hit it back the other way it came from, every spot that it was dented. Now it's nice and straight all the way through. And it should pull straight out, just like that. Look at that, guys. Alright guys, and just like that, the intake manifold has been simplified. We took this plate off the back of the engine, we took the EGR off of the manifold, we took that off of the intake in the last video. These lines came from straight to the valley of the intake manifold. That valve controlled the butterflies, this rod held the butterflies, and then right there are our butterflies. As you guys can see, this manifold's a lot cleaner than it was. On the inside here, all these ports are completely empty, no more butterflies, no more rod in the middle. This thing is ready to make simple power. Again, make sure you guys watch the last video if you're curious as to how this all came off the car. And watch the next video if you guys want to see us clean this all up and prepare it for reinstallation. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I want to thank you all for watching this quick little video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I hope to help. And stay tuned for more videos.